Hi, welcome back to Yeti at Large. Today we're going to do a DIY headlight restoration on an early 2000 Chevy pickup. I'm going to use a combination of garage sale and internet techniques acquired from watching Scotty Kilmer and Chris Fix, McGuire's, and the chemical guys. So come along and let's see what we come up with and compare our version with the other ones you see on the internet and find out what works best for you. So as you can see with the headlight on, but it's got some pretty severe oxidization. I've priced these replacement lenses on the internet and they can be well over 120 bucks for just the basic ones. I don't think these headlights are in terrible shape, but they're also not in good shape. So we need to make an evaluation of what grit sandpaper we want to start with and how many steps till we finish the polish. You can see it's got a little bit of mud on this truck, but she's a daily driver. I'm tempted to take the headlights out. Agnes, should we take them out or leave them in? You're a good dog. I'm tempted to take the headlights out for ease of work. And if you pop the hood, it only saves you this little section of taping here. So we may just leave them in though and start with a pretty high grit sandpaper, work our way through some different grit sandpapers and other finishing textures. Some of it's a little at-home style and some of it's professional grade. Obviously this low budget setup is not sponsored or endorsed by anybody. So if you see brand names and different manufacturers, just know that this is a real world application and these are products you use. I grew up using McGuire's products and always had a great deal of success. Growing up in the Phoenix area, the sun was roofed. We'll work our way from 800 to 1200 to 2000 to 3000, and then I will move to the compounds and start with a pretty aggressive McGuire's cut compound, and I know they're mostly for paint, but I've used them on headlights to great success. And then I'll move to ultra finishing, and then I got this on the clearance rack at my local O'Reilly, and I've never used it before, but I think if it's used properly, we'll have great success with that. These 3M Scotch-Brite pads and sponges can be super helpful just getting the headlight clean.
The key is to do a thorough job of sanding before moving to the next finer grit. You can see as the residue that comes off the lens gradually goes from a yellow, very oxidized color to white and eventually almost clear. Remember to keep the sandpaper very wet.
And then we'll just try to get it dry. All right, so what I'll do is I'll play around with this shop light I have, and we'll try to get a few different angles to see if we feel like we got all the scratches out. Well, if you think we're good and we can progress to the next grit, go ahead and like this video. Obviously it really helps with a growing channel. More with the 1200. So let's get at it. All right, much better with the 1200. You can see that the residue coming off from the sanding is perfectly white now, and I feel like we've evened out all the scratches. So now we're going to jump up to 2000. And for the 2000, use a traditional sanding block. And I'm going to continue in a pattern of circles.
It's important at this step to stay consistent with the pressure and the amount of effort with each grit of sandpaper. The time you take now will make a lot of difference in the long run for the finished product.
And now 3000. And it sure doesn't feel like much, but I can guarantee you these early sanding steps and going through this many grades is going to be worth it. All right, so that's all the way through our different grades of sandpaper, and we used a little mechanical advantage and we did hand sanding And we can see they got kind of a foggy look to them as I rotate the light around. But the scratches are all the consistent size. And I think we're in a good place to start with the buffing wheel. So we're going to go to a standard Harbor Freight buffing wheel. That Meguiar's 105 Ultra Cut. Talked about, I've used this before on several older vehicles I had with highly oxidized paint and had very good results with it. And it just dawned on me that it might work on headlights, and I've had very good results. And I want to be very careful about my edges at this point. And we'll stop there, let it dry, and then we'll wipe it off. This is the Meguiar's 205. It's about half as coarse, and it will tell you on here somewhere that it's meant to be used in stage. Alrighty, before we start with the next one, we've given it good time to dry. Take a nice clean microfiber towel. And let's just make sure we get all the old compound off of that and see where we're at. Now we still got 2 stages to go. Alrighty, we've given it a chance to dry. The Meguiar's Mirror Glaze Professional High-Tech Yellow Wax. That's number 26 on the bottle. Or the Show Car Glaze, and that's kind of what I'm leaning to now. That's a number 7. And it's a hand applied. Stand by for just a minute, we'll figure it out. Alright, after careful deliberation and research, I'm going to go with the Show Car Glaze number 7. Because look at this truck, it's obviously a show car. And we're going to switch to this finishing pad and very gently do a light application. Some of you all may have question mark hanging over your head of why is he basically waxing a headlight lens. In the 80s, we used to put wax on our windshields to work like kind of a primitive Rain-X function, and it worked great. Plus it also would hide all the pits and chips and everything. And yeah, I went ahead and took the tape off because after all, it's just wax. So as long as I can keep the edge of the wheel off of the paint, not scratch it, it should be fine. We'll let that dry. I'll hit the other side and we'll take a look at our finished product. So while we didn't use the Blue Magic Headlight Lens Restorer today, we're definitely going to hang on to it and save it for a rainy day. I keep a little kit here, these old buffing and cutting pads, what chemicals that I use, and brushes and all kinds of other stuff for cleaning the car. It's not a great collection, but I'll tell you, it's tools that work and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Sometimes on YouTube, I'm utterly astonished at the amount of resources that people seem to have. But again, make the most out of what you do have. You could have done all this today by hand if you don't have a power drill or a buffing wheel. And if you need one, look at those secondhand stores. Talk to your neighbors, knock on their doors and see who has what. Maybe get a few of you together one day with 4 cars in the parking lot to do it as a whole. I'm gonna leave this up here so it can dry. My Navy duck got all banged around. I'll leave the sandpaper there so it can dry and then it'll go back in the shoebox. I would not do this with a paper towel. And there's your restored headlight. This truck is 15 years old. It's got about 150,000 miles on it, not a lot. She's mostly a wood cutting and hunting truck, but she'd done a little commuting and pulling a trailer. But I think that sure looks nice for a basic job utilizing what you have on hand. Well, I want to thank you all for coming along today and helping out. Remember, making the most out of what you have starts with money you don't spend is money you don't have to make. It's money you can save. and you take a little pride in something and make it a little better and a little safer. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned. Add your comments below for future topics you'd like to see. We've got several food-related topics coming up soon. Now I got to wash the rest of this truck.